Hey guys, welcome to On the Beat weekly podcast. On the Beat is all about giving young people a voice. We explore all the interesting topics that affect us in the world today. So come, listen, enjoy, and be inspired.
On the beat, on the beat.
Hi guys, welcome to On the Beat podcast. On the beat, on the beat. Hey, on the beat, on the beat. Today we're talking about Afghanistan young people, right? You have seen in the news, if you were following, that the Taliban have taken over back the country, and right now people are campaigning to leave the country. Young people are campaigning to secure their futures, and it have to be in another country because they don't know what type of reaction or what type of ruling the Taliban will want to do. Because according to history, the Taliban have a very strong Islamic ruling, and a lot of young people into their society in Afghanistan are not waiting around to see what type of ruling it may be, right? And but for you to understand all what's going on and why it is young people are campaigning to leave the country immediately, families are campaigning to leave the country immediately, why it is the army and the police and them just put down everything and just look to leave immediately. Let's go and check the backstory to this, right? Because the backstory is that Afghanistan is a strong Islamic country with strong Islamic laws. It's a kind of nesting place for grooming terrorists, hence the reason that they were part of the 9/11 attack against the US, and President Bush back then attacked Afghanistan and the Taliban and the Al-Qaeda movements, and who were even being led by Osama bin Laden. And through some years of war, over the years, so for the past 20 years now, the country has been in transition from war to, let me say, a 21st century democratic kind of ruling, where they recently appointed their president for the first time in many, many years. And now the woman could have the liberty to seek education or to work or to have that respect. They could walk the streets, because back then they couldn't walk the streets. They were to stay home, or even if they walk in the streets, they have to be totally covered, only their eyes to be seen, right? And the young woman as well would be married off to soldiers, right? Taliban soldiers and so on. And it's like a trade. It's like women are their property, right? They view women as a property rather than a being. And young women were really under shackles back then. And right now, before this last event happened, they have been transitioning in such a kind of lifestyle where they have a little more liberty to do things, to seek after their future. Young men back then would be groomed to fight, groomed to survive, groomed to kill, right? And they would be taught the Islamic way of ruling the lives of other people, of their families, of their friends, right? And young men were taught to lead in a violent way. And it was a really extreme way of life for young people who are growing up. They would be taught how to shoot, they would be taught how to kill, they would be taught how to manage, how to rule, and to abide by the Islamic law, right? So for instance, if I went and thief, right? And I was caught, the ruling would be most likely my hands would be cut off, or worst case scenario, I would be killed. If you show any resistance, you are killed. If you caught in adultery, you would be killed. And there are many things that would just end up in your death, basically, if you do anything wrong. And so young men now, through the transition, had the liberty to choose their futures, and that they don't have to turn to be a soldier, but they could choose different type of careers and study as well. And the internet now was more prominent in Afghanistan as well, because before that they didn't have access to the internet, because it was under lock and key from the Taliban's and the Al Qaeda. And but now that the US decided under the reign of President Trump to leave Afghanistan, they believe that Afghanistan will have been in good hands, seeing that they elected president and now they're building back the cities, and their economy is getting back into a kind of groove, basically. And so they decided to leave after spending billions of dollars in war and causing and allowing their soldiers to be in the country. President Biden completed this process, and by removing all US soldiers back home. But seeing that they were leaving, the Taliban, however, were biding their time. And because the Taliban were biding their time, President Biden or President Trump didn't realize that the Afghanistan citizens or the army or the government was not equipped enough. They thought they were equipped enough to hold back the Taliban at bay, right? And still rule the country. But they underestimated the Taliban. And because of this underestimation, the Taliban moved in swiftly after the US and allies left the country. And because of this, because of the takeover, the president left the country because he's avoiding bloodshed. The army put down their guns and left. The police changed their clothing. They tried to leave too. And many, many families are trying to leave the country. It is so bad that they took over the citizens took over the airports and trying to ram themselves into commercial flights, into the flights of the US Army and so on. It was so dire that they climbed walls, they climbed ladders, they scaled planes, they tried to go through the latch for the wheel. They tried to go through there as well. And they tried to hang on while the planes and them take off. Many of them lost their lives because they were trying to hang on the outside of the plane in an effort to leave the country. And it's really a horrible situation. If you place your mind into their shoes, because they have a reality of how it used to be. And now they get baited in how things could be. And now all of a sudden it has changed, and they fear that it will go back to the original way of how life used to be in Afghanistan. And young people who grew up over the last 20 years are not accustomed to what is happening. And to see the Taliban take over, and I'm sure they heard stories, I'm sure they saw videos of what was happening back then, right? They fear for their lives, for their family lives. I saw women pushing their babies up in hope that somebody will take care of them. I saw young people hanging on to planes, and even on the news highlight one of the young people who play football fell from the plane and died. And there are many cases like that. Because if they stay back, the worst case scenario is that the Taliban will change their lives and they will turn into soldiers or terrorists. The young women would not have jobs anymore. They would not have education anymore. They would be forced to marry soldiers, and they would be forced to stay indoors or to be hidden at all costs. I hope that we are praying for them. And if you place yourself in their shoes, it's a scary situation for young people. So my thing is that I hope that the governments across the world will help out, nonprofit organizations help out, rich people help out, you understand? Skilled people help out, help them, because it's a real sad time for humanity to see people leave their country and flee their country at all costs. And worse yet, a guy, an Afghanistan citizen, was saying that, hey, their country is finished. Their country is done. So if you're not praying for them, then start praying for them. If you're not sending donations or trying to link up with one of those nonprofit organizations to help, then try to seek to help. And young people who in the Western Hemisphere or who have a quality life in their country, a life that is not of war, a life that has freedom per se, make full use of it. Make full use of your free education. Make full use of the clothes you have on your back and the iPhone that you have in your hand. Make use of the cars that you drive and the places that you go, the career that you have. Make use of it. Because if you were in their shoes, the Afghans' shoes, I don't know if many of us will have made it. Because right now it's just about survival mode. It's not about what we own. It's not about, hey, I have education. It's about campaigning for your life. And my name is Brent Balfour, and I hope you all have a great week, and see you all next week.
Thank you for listening to On The Beat podcast. Feel free to share, follow, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram. Stay blessed, everyone.